You're listening to BK Presents on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hello, everyone. My name is BK International Talent Scout. I'm bringing a brand new show to you called BK Presents. 30 minutes, non-stop, your favorite in gospel music. The studio session, going deep into interviews with your favorite artists, producers, and their engineers. You and your music. Concert previews and concert reviews. Get it all on BKPresents.com. Hello, everybody. This is BK International Talent Scout. I am in the studios with a mayor candidate for this primary season. He took time out of his busy schedule. He changed everything around to come into the studio, and we're really excited to have him. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me, BK.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
come on.
appreciate it.
This is Joe Molloy. He was at Tony Benton's Rainier Avenue Radio Mayor. Was it a debate?
The forum, yeah.
The forum. It was the forum. I was there.
Yeah, that was something.
Well, it was fiery, but we
got
you right now. It's all about Joe right now. Joe, let's talk about what was it like learning about politics growing up? How were you involved with politics growing up?
Sure. I mean, I was always interested. Like as a kid, had a lot of interests. But you know, it was a weird time as a kid. I'll give you the frame. I was in my history class in 7th grade, and we were listening to like 9/11 happen, and I had a great social studies like teacher who like from that moment was just like, nope, you guys are gonna like learn about what's actually happening. And I like it was just a huge thing for me. I really like probably one of my first real like interests in school. So when I went to college, I grew up in like downriver Detroit, and I went to my first year in Wayne State, which is in like Midtown Detroit, and studied political science, but took a bunch of classes that were way over my head and just thought like, oh, maybe this is not quite what I thought it was. So I ended up transferring to another school and taking more of like entrepreneurship and business and public administration kind of like stuff rather than like political science. But yeah, it was an interesting path. Like it was, you know, I got triggered real early into politics by that. Yeah.
I remember 9/11 too.
Not to like start a show. It's like that's what we're talking about, a political show, and that's what we start with. But like it was a big moment of like.
But I'm glad
why it triggered an interest in me.
I'm glad that your teacher took an interest to kind of enlighten you what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, 9/11, I'm sitting in my living room of my small place, and I'm watching the TV screen, and it just looks like a movie, man.
Yeah.
It looks like a movie. All you see is a plane plunging into buildings, and you're like, is this a movie? Is this real? And your mind is like doing 2 or 3 things at one time.
I think it puts a lot of like emphasis on like what's happening right now across the world, that like we've been like conditioned for these kinds of events for so long that like it's really troubling to see the numbness almost to what's the current global state.
And then the other thing, we were playing video games, right? It doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're in the sports video games, shooting video games, Angry Bird video games, a part of our lives, you're immersed in video. Let's speed it up, man, because we don't got all day. Let's talk about what got you interested in running for the mayor of Seattle. What was it? What triggered you? What inspired you? And what got you to sign your name on the dotted line?
So like I really kind of I moved out to Seattle this time around, at least in 2021. I'd lived here previously for just like a few months back in like 2013. But I moved out here largely with the intention of getting involved in something. I wanted to, work for a nonprofit or whatever. And then really started to learn about the situation with homelessness. About the same time, I started really I was going to sweeps on the ground, right? To like try to serve as mutual aid and things like this, help people that were getting swept. And I lost my job.
Oh, you lost your job?
Shortly around that time. And then not because of it or anything, it was an unrelated thing. But then couldn't find more work, and then ultimately lost my own housing.
Oh, you lost your housing.
Yeah. So this would have been last July of 2024. And so I spent the last year at a tent encampment at one of the sanctioned encampments, Tent City 3. So in that time, I just decided I need to learn everything I can about what's going on. I was already involved in learning about the local homeless services systems, and really from where we were at camp, we were taking in people from the care team. We were serving as the last resort shelter for so many things. And it's all the people that live at the camp that operate the camp. So I was working 30, 40, 50, 60-hour weeks, just trying to hold the camp together, for the year that I was up until the last few months. But for the year that I was living there. So I just got to see everything that was happening. And
so this was your life day to day.
Yes.
Living, you call it an encampment.
It's a sanctioned encampment.
Yep. It's a sanctioned encampment. What are sweeps?
What are sweeps? We have a lot of people that live on the streets here in Seattle. We are actually we have the most unsheltered homelessness in the city of Seattle, more than any other city in the United States. Unsheltered homelessness is a definition, a federal level definition, because it has to do with how they do funding and tracking different things. But it's people who are living in tents, in tiny houses, or sleeping rough, which means just on the street in a alcove or something like that, or in their car in some other way where that's not fit for a human to live. We have more of that here in Seattle than in New York, than in LA proper, right? There's a lot of little cities in LA, but so it's a crazy, I have to take a second because it's a crazy statistic to really look at. So
that is let's go back over that. Let's go back over that statistic. Let's go back over that statistic. Take it slow. Let's start breaking down city by city. What is it like in LA? So are you saying there's more opportunity to be sheltered if you're homeless when you're in Los Angeles?
Arguably. Yeah.
Okay. And we
New York for sure.
New York.
For sure.
Now, let's break this down. We need to go over the list. Probably the most important list is, what is unsheltered homelessness? One,
yes, you're living in a tent on the street. You're living, just sleeping rough, in a doorway. You're sleeping in a tiny house, somewhere where you don't have a bathroom, access to running water, things like that.
Okay.
We have about 10,000 people
now
like that in Seattle.
I can say this: Seattle has places where you can go eat, right? I'm not talking about, there's churches and places where people can go eat.
Lots of stuff like that.
There's there are two or three places in Seattle you can go get your clothes washed, take a shower. They're called urban rest stops.
Yep.
So you're saying that 10,000 people got to go through the 3 or 4 urban rest stops in Seattle?
Right. So, and think about how many public restrooms we have. Think about how many. Right.
Look, when it comes to public restrooms, are there businesses don't let people come in and use hotels?
No.
Yeah. So you just. Okay, we're not gonna get too deep because it's Sunday. That's a lot. Show's coming on Sunday.
So when people live in a tent on the street like that, and the city or the county decides that they don't want them there, or they don't want people there anymore, or the business that they're sleeping nearby doesn't want them there, or someone deems that they're blocking a passageway, the city comes by, usually with a team of people that are throwing things away, and they force them to move.
Okay.
And they often will just pick up their stuff and go a couple blocks in another direction, or get scattered in several directions, wind up at another park somewhere, until they're swept again. And I've met people that have been swept 6, 7, 8 times, 10 times. Yeah.
Okay. We got to tie it up in a knot. Daniel, how many minutes do I got left in the interview? I got a lot. Okay. We need to tie this part up in a knot. And we need to talk about this part of homelessness or houselessness. Where does this fit? You lose your job, you lose your housing, and you're sleeping on somebody's couch. Is that considered homelessness?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different, it might be a different thing than unsheltered, but it's still a definition of homeless. It's still a type of homelessness. And
Okay, let's look at this. Because we got to turn the corner and you running for mayor.
Sure. So the big part was I feel like I have a perspective on what's actually happening on the ground.
Right.
The differences between, say, what Bruce is saying about offering shelter to people and why people are declining it, why we are continuing to spend money on sweeps. These are things that I have an insight to that I think people in Seattle deserve to hear.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So,
and that it's a real, we from this perspective, me and several people came up with real solutions to these that would be different than what we're functioning right now, that would actually support people, prevent people from becoming homeless, get people stabilized from the street, and not really require too much more of what we're doing already in terms of spending and how we budget things to existing action.
So on this interview, we're just focusing on you. We're not focusing on any other candidates because my family knows Bruce. I know Bruce.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I don't like to say, don't worry.
He's a great guy.
These are things that I've said to him, and he knows. There's some, hopefully he and I get to talk about the specifics and there's some actual understanding. But
hey, after the primaries, you guys could go eat lunch somewhere, do a walk-in talk.
See, I've offered, and I did the same thing to any other candidate in any other race. I said, if you guys want to know anything about what I've seen through my experiences, I'm happy to share it. And I would extend that to him as well. This is really I care about there being real solutions to what people are facing on the streets.
Right.
And I just don't think that there are, we have a lot of pieces, but they're not all coming together.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about what got you to go down to that office and sign your name.
Sure.
And say, I want to be in the mayoral candidacy to become the mayor of Seattle.
So I was living outside, right? So I was about the 6th, 7th, 8th month mark. It's getting real cold outside. And I started really searching, increasing my own efforts to find an indoor shelter, to find temporary housing, transitional housing, to go through the rapid rehousing program. These are all kind of specific programs inside, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But the point is, I was trying to really find a path out of the street.
How did that go?
Couldn't find one.
You couldn't find one.
No, there was just
nothing
there.
Did you ask anyone, or did you just not know where to go, or you tried to go through the system?
I called that. Say, we'll start with 211 because that's what people know to be the regular response. I called that a dozen times. Right. Told them the story, told them where I was at, told them what was going on. Couldn't find anything. There's no resources. They refer you to other numbers, and then you call those other numbers, those other organizations, and then they tell you, we don't have anything right now, or we don't have any funding right now, or we used to have services and now we don't. And like the list of things that I called where that was more or less the response is so long, talking like 100+ organizations like that.
Okay.
100+ ways of like finding.
So now you're doing this work, you're doing sweeps, you volunteered your time, so you got to know all kind of people and all kind of situations. Did your community offer any kind of shelter for you to kind of get your footing?
So, I mean, part of it is a little tough because I was newer to Seattle, right, when I was losing my housing and I hadn't met a ton of people. I had a lot of people offer, maybe a couch for a little bit or things like that, but like nothing that could have like actually stabilized, because I think a lot of like help me stabilize, because I think a lot of people are just in a position where they want to help, but they don't have the resources themselves to be able to like,
I think in these days and time, you just can't like invite somebody
that's
into
another
your
part
home
too, man. That's dangerous
because it's not safe, because you don't know,
right?
You don't know, nobody knows who you are,
right?
What you're capable of, even though you've done work. So
I think so many people in the city,
for anybody that wanted to offer their couch to you for 2 or 3 weeks, kudos! Kudos to you.
Yeah, it's a dangerous path. You're absolutely right.
Man, I want to say I'm sorry that no one really reached out to help you. And I know that can be a tough road.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're able to tell this story, because this is a story of many people and your story needs to be heard. Sometimes in situations like this, I would say this just for wisdom. Man, sometimes you just gotta try something different, because really, like in a lot of situations, you got to get a case manager, and then the case manager can walk you through the system. So case management is really important, because your case manager is your representative. Your case manager can speak for you. Your case manager can go places that you can't go. Your case manager can put you in the front of the line, so that you can be sheltered. Also, what a lot of people don't know about homelessness in Seattle, you can literally be homeless in Seattle in the springtime and the summertime and be perfectly happy. Meaning, and when I say that, it's because there's so much going on. There's all these events. The weather's pretty cool. You're meeting all these different people. So I could understand that. The real challenge is like you said, when the weather starts to shift, then it's a whole nother other ball game.
There's a big thought that's part of the reason why we have so much unsheltered homelessness here, because people say that the weather is okay for it, and especially up until the last few years when we maybe didn't have such hot summers, that we have a lot of people living outside because they want to, because it's so nice out. And I think it.
Well, no, I would say
right. You see what I'm saying, though? Sorry.
Don't touch me, please. Don't touch me. It's not that. Let me say it like this: the weather is nice, and because the weather's nice, there's so many things that are going on, and what a lot of people don't understand. There's a lifestyle to homelessness, and you can be homeless and not even appear to be homeless. I mean, who wants to own homelessness or houselessness, right? So homelessness, people that are in homelessness have the same needs and wants that people that are housed, whether they're renting a house, whether they're buying a house, whether they're mortgaging. You know what I'm saying? whether they're in a condominium situation, whether they're in an apartment situation. Then some people will get a big house and people will just like rent out bedrooms or different areas of the house. So, and that lifestyle, it's okay. I mean, there's a lot of people, hey man, I just need a room, I just need a studio,
Sure,
I just need a couch. I mean, but Seattle, I have to say this, Seattle actually has some of the best shelter programs in the country. And let me tell you why. A lot of times people aren't getting in the shelters because they're not going through the systems. You know, and the numbers are so high, right? But there are places where you can get shelter, but no one knows, right? That's where the case manager comes in.
Well, I think that's what we want to believe, and
no,
what
that's
we think
where
that's what's going on. But,
okay, tell me what is a case manager? What is a
you described the case manager very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to listen and follow the directions of the case manager, because they're gonna help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah. So we are as a city, we are very understaffed in the case manager world, through whether it's organization-based case managers or kind of like ones that are free to work with anyone. But most case managers work specifically through either organizations or shelter programs. And the way that you connect as a person who's like needing services, needing resources, the way you connect to a case manager most often is to go through coordinated entry. Right. So you make your way through coordinated entry, which is you go to a location and you fill out a form and sit with a person for a few minutes, and they say, okay, now you're in the system for coordinated entry. And my experiences with it, at least, have been at that meeting, you are given a list of numbers for potential case managers. Again, either organizations or shelters. And then, again, just my experience, I contacted all of those ones, and either none of those organizations have case managers anymore. The shelters, you have to live there already to work with their case managers, but they're full anyways. And the other organizations that have case managers often have lists in case manager, like sort of lists of clients that are already 10, 20 long, and waiting lists after that. So you kind of just have to catch them at the right time. So that's one of the things that we sort of created as part of like the solution to what's happening right now is rather than make a big push to continue to hire anyone really right now, to put the top priority of hiring in the city into a team of case managers that could work independently and have support through a network of resources. And when I say like a team, I mean a few hundred to handle what is actually happening on the ground. Yes, we're very understaffed with the case manager part, and what they can provide is limited by the resources that they connect to, right? And so the city is in charge of doing outreach right now for encampments. It took that outreach service back from the KCRHA, and the way that it's happening, as far as I understand, they do outreach in various zones through the week, right? So on Monday they'll be in one area, and they'll essentially tell people that they have to go, and then come back a day later or so and sweep them and recommend maybe a couple of spaces in either a DESE, an emergency shelter, or a tiny home to 20 people, right? And so whoever accepts, they'll put them in, but then they'll count the other 18 people as like we offered them shelter. We have like congregational shelter, which is like a bunch of people in a room, like kind of like a barracks, like an army barracks, where there's like cots stacked up and nobody has any personal space. So the city will always keep a number of those beds available so that when they do these sort of camp outreaches and sweeps, they can offer those shelters. But that often requires people giving up all their personal belongings, giving up any pets if they have them. You can't go to those kinds of shelters as a couple, right? So you have to be split up from your partner if you're going to do something like that. So our actual services over the last 5 years in terms of shelter, we've lost net shelter beds over the last 5 years. So we reduced the number of units. We've also lost a bunch of day centers. The Mary's Place Day Center is a big one that was like kind of focused on families and women and children. That closed down, as well as a couple shelters, from what I understand, that they were helping manage. So we've seen a big increase in the amount of people living on the street, as well as a reduction in the last few years of sort of like stable places for them to go.
Okay. Joe has been talking about the homelessness. Joe, talk about being in the mayor's race. What was it? Oh, Joe, our show has to close.
Okay.
I want to give you like maybe 30-second closing statement of what you want to say to the community.
Sure. Yeah. Well, largely, I feel like I'm in this race to try to provide an honest perspective of my experiences from living through what is the most, or one of the most critical issues that's facing our city. We have a lot of potential solutions and potential paths that we could go on collectively. And it's my hope that we really prioritize listening to people's real lived experience, that we collectively decide that housing is a human right, and that everybody deserves to sleep inside in an adequate form of housing, and that we can really commit to making that happen, because that's what I see us as capable of as a city, and where I think our values align. And who doesn't want that at the end of the day? So we can just have the safety net where we can always be sure that no matter if you get sick, if you lose a job, or whatever happens, you'll always be okay. You'll always have a choice, so that if there are people that want to sleep on the street, it's a genuine choice. You know, if there are people that want to go sleep in a park, it's a genuine choice. Sure. But we need to really accept housing as a human right and do everything we can to make that the reality here.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe. I want to say it's stellar that you're running for mayor. And I know after the primaries, there'll be great opportunities for you coming up. Thank you for coming into Rainier Avenue Radio and being on my show and talking about homelessness, telling your story about homelessness. Hey, this is BK International Talent Scout, and we're going to see you next week.
Thank you, Seattle, for checking out the show with BK Presents on Rainier Avenue Radio. It's been our pleasure. But listen, we want to connect with you. Maybe you have some takeaways from the show that you would like to let us know about. You can do that in two ways. You can go on Twitter and follow us at BK Presents, or email us bkpresents@gmail.com. Once again, that's bkpresents@gmail.com. Until next time, we look forward to hearing from you again on BK Presents. This is Marquise Franklin, the producer of BK Presents, and that is our time for today. We want to say thank you for listening to the show, and if you'd like to hear the entirety of this episode and more, visit bkpresents.com. Also subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and Google Play. BK Presents, promoting the good news in contemporary